It was my first trip to Cape Town with the Queensland Reds. I'd never seen so many beautiful women in my life. If I can go play anywhere in the world, I want to come to Cape Town.
There we go.
And so then we're all like, what's going on here? Then Ewan McKenzie gets up and says, look, boys, after the game, if you win this game, do whatever you want. Just no one get arrested.
Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. I don't know what time of the day you guys are watching your #1 rugby podcast. Okay, welcome back to another fun-filled episode of Behind the Ruck, supported by SuperSportBET. Guys, I'm short, I'm round. Today I'm Honong down, I'm Rudy Page. Hey, and next to me, I've got my bodybuilding partner.
Hey, good day, mate. Hey, the one and only. Hey, time to go down under. How's things, Pacey? Are you good?
Partner, fantastic. I am so excited, Boykie. This is honestly the week that I cannot believe we have on the show. The Springboks team is out. Rugby Championship is starting.
Hey?
Yes, see.
And I'm looking at your socials. I see a lekker weekend.
That
birthday
was
weekend.
Brilliant.
Happy birthday.
Arigato gozaimasu.
Hey.
Arigato gozaimasu. Thank you.
You feel older, younger? What's happening?
I still feel like a 23-year-old. My tummy looks like a 50-year-old, but I feel 23. Okay, guys?
And birthday wishes,
Birthday wishes was excited. I wished for 20,000 subscribers
20,000
this year on our YouTube channel.
Yes, believe.
Do your thing, please.
Like, share and subscribe like
always.
Believe,
Ruckers.
Are you sure it's not a 3 handicap you wish for?
No, I think I want to wish for stuff that can actually come true. Okay, partner?
Just checking,
3 handicap doesn't seem like reality at this current moment, Ruckers.
Yeah. Exciting times, episode 56.
Yes.
Okay, I'm excited for this one.
Okay.
A massive one coming.
This is what dreams are made of. Hey now.
Okay. You ready for a lineup? I'll give you the lineup. Okay, guys. Nice and simple. Okay, we got a guest in the house. It's a Cooper. It's not Adam Ashley Cooper.
Hey?
It's not Hooper. It's Quade Cooper. QC. Wannabe QB. Hey, in the house. Okay, guys. And then we'll also check the Springboks. The team is out. We'll have a chitty chat about this. And then the fixtures, because the New Zealand boykies and Adis is also playing as well. Okay, cool.
But
nice and simple.
Quade Cooper on Behind the Ruck. How incredible is that?
Hey? Seatbelt. We're not a big deal. We're not a big deal. Okay, seatbelt. It's exciting times. Hey, what he's done for rugby overall, and especially perfect timing, because we're going down under the outback of Australia.
He's honestly transcended the way we see fly-off played. Being played in the world. He was the first of the attacking mold in our beautiful game. I can still remember fondly when we played against him. Our defense coach used to lose his mind. Guys, Quade Cooper is on first receiver. We need to stack 3 against him. The catch-up defender, do your job. Don't let him. Okay. He's going to overtake you. He's going to step you on the inside. So, Quade, if you're watching this episode, meneer, You've created a lot of headaches for a lot of defense coaches around the world, and especially in South Africa.
Sleepless nights. Because I don't want to be on YouTube for missed tackles against Quade. Yeah, and I mean, he's a incredible career. Don't want to talk about Seabus Stadium when he kicked the last penalty to drop us. But we're not going to go there. We'll cover it maybe later on.
But
okay.
I'm just loving the fact that he made time for us. He just came out of surgery. So, Quade Cooper, let's go.
Oh, exciting times. Yes. Okay, are you ready?
Let's go. Let's waste no time. Let's get the big deal on. Let's go.
On your marks, get set, go. Quade Cooper, let's go. South Africa. We got Wallaby royalty in the house. Quade Cooper, all the way from down under. Hey, Quade, how's things, brother?
Man, it's always good, bro, but I'd much rather be in the studio with you guys in Cape Town.
100%.
Say that much.
100%. Yeah, we must catch that flight over, eh?
Partner, we need to go to Australia, okay?
Yes. No. Boys. I need to come to Cape Town.
Oh, there we go.
You got to get me to Cape Town.
Cape Town people, they love him. They love that stepping 1-2.
Work in progress.
How's the body feeling? Obviously, just got out of the hospital. Hey, thanks for making the time. Just got out of the hospital. How's the body feeling? Are you in pre-season? What's going on now?
Yeah, body's good, bro. I just wanted to get this. I had a small little, like a piece of bone that was giving me grief in my ankle. And I just thought it was a really good time to get it taken out, especially not being involved in any of the tests and stuff like that. So it was a perfect time for me to to get that taken out. It wasn't anything serious, but it was just quality of life, those things that the pain, you know, as a rugby player, we deal with pain every day. Just sort of pain in my heel, you know, just has been grumbling for about 18 months now. So I just thought this is the best time I can get it done and, you know, and then no more pain.
And Quade, how long are you currently off? Obviously, top league is done. How long is the holiday period that you're spending in Brazil?
Huh? And we're pretty lucky, pretty fortunate. That's probably the upside of playing in Japan, is that we get a really nice break. So we're off from May until September. So I'll go back around, I think it's the September 9th, which, you know, for us as rugby players, when I was playing in Australia, we would play from January all the way through to December, and then you'll get 3 or 4 weeks off in December. But you had to be ready to go in January. So it was like really tough to be able to rest your body during that small break. So over here, you get, like, I'm getting surgery and I've still got 5.5 weeks of holidays left. So I'm super grateful for that.
Lots of time, eh? No wonder you can still play.
So lots of time. I might get that trip to Cape Town before I get back.
100%. Yeah, I see you had dinner with the Cape Town boykie.
Oh,
the present
of South
future,
Africa.
Yeah. Sia Kulisi and the boys, eh?
And I was like, I was basically his personal photographer, walking around my own city, you know. So you see the love that the people have here for Sia and the South African team. A lot of South African supporters out here. So it should be an exciting game on the weekend.
Yeah. And talking about that game, can you guys that are in Brazil, can you feel the atmosphere picking up that now that knowing that the Boks are in town for this, obviously a new generation for Australian rugby? Obviously, is there a vibe building for Suncorp this Saturday?
Bro, honestly, like, I'm not too sure, like, because I live on the Gold Coast.
Okay.
And so I've been away and I've been in Sydney a lot for the past couple of weeks. But there's definitely a good feel amongst the public. You know, people that I've spoken to, you know, with the changing of coaches, we've got some bright, young, talented stars coming through. So I'm excited to see those boys in action. And just, we've been able to build, like, having two games against Wales, who are coming off like some of the worst results in their history, and then having a tough hit out against Georgia, who are on the rise. So if you think about it like that, now we're going to have true tests to be able to see where we are against the world champs and the best in the world, you know. So at home, which is, for us, is the best possible outcome.
Yeah, and if you look at this game, obviously Suncorp it is Quade Cooper. Quade Cooper, Suncorp, it's connected. 2:30 in the afternoon. Usually, you guys are playing in like late in evening games. Yeah. What do you think about? Does it have an effect on? You know, is it more South Africa, leaning towards South Africa, or more Wallabies when it comes to this weekend?
It's a difficult one, bro, because for us, we're always just super happy. Whenever we get to play anyone at Suncorp, we have this feeling behind us where we're very confident. We know that we have a great record at Suncorp. And sometimes I always think it wouldn't be a bad thing for Australian rugby to make that our home base, our fortress, similar to what England do with Twickenham. You know, you think about the All Blacks, like, they move their games around, but their fortress is Eden Park. So if they have a big game on and they know that they want to win it, they're taking it to Eden Park. You know, so for us, we like to think that we have the advantage playing here in Brisbane, especially at Suncorp Stadium.
And Quade, what is it about Suncorp? I mean, South Africa hasn't beaten the Australian at Suncorp for 11 years. That's a very long time that we haven't gotten a result at Suncorp. What is it about Brisbane Suncorp Stadium that makes Australia so formidable in the stadium?
Man, sometimes I think, you know, whenever teams used to come here during Super Rugby, a lot of the teams would come and base themselves out of the Gold Coast. And we used to, as soon as we would see teams go down to the Gold Coast, we'd be like, thank you. Yes. All they're going to be doing is worrying about having a good time on holiday. And then they come to Suncorp, and then Suncorp Stadium, because even in the winter here in Brisbane, it's still quite muggy. So like, they'll think they see the sunshine out. So I remember playing the Chiefs one year at Suncorp Stadium, and it was super sunny all week. They come out and all they wanted to do was throw the ball around, offloads, and they just keep knocking the ball on. And so, like, our game plan was very much to just let them play. So kick them the ball, let them play, get some errors, and tick over the scoreboard. So I think that there's this false sense of security sometimes. They see the sun shining, the weather's always good, And then everybody just wants to enjoy that. So in their off days, they're enjoying it. In the game, they start trying to enjoy it a little bit too much rather than, test rugby. You got to do all the small things first.
Yeah, it's almost like Cape Town. When they come here, Camps Bay, Caprice, he knows
Yes.
about
I got a funny story about that, bro. It was like one year we come to play the Stormers, and it was 2011. And we were both first equal. And so we get on the bus. As we landed, we get on the bus, and all of us boys just licking our lips like we can't wait to get to the waterfront. Usually stay at the hotel right on the waterfront.
Yes.
And we start driving in the bus, and we're already starting to plan between each other where we're going to go, what we're going to do, who we're going to see. And then the bus just keeps driving, goes straight past, and we're say, whoa, that's the exit. Yeah, and then he keeps going all the way out to Newlands, and then we pull up at the I think it was the Holiday Inn at Newlands, like right next to the stadium. And so then we're all like, what's going on here? Then Ewan McKenzie gets up and says, look, boys, we're going to stay at this stadium. There's one rule this week. There's no going into the waterfront. And we're like, what? We're not children, And then he says, look, I'm going to make a little deal with you. We're both first equal with the Stormers. And Queensland Reds, we've never been outright number one in the history of Super Rugby. Yeah. And so we're going to put a lot of emphasis on this game. And then he said, we've scored a lot of points throughout the season. And the Stormers, although they're number one, everything's come off the back of their defense. And then he started to go into the psychology of it. And he said, now what we're going to do is they think we're coming here to entertain. We're just going to give them the ball and make them try and entertain us. Not what they do. They're the number one defensive team in the competition. Yeah. And so we just were kicking you the ball, and we say, all right, play. And then your fans started booing and booing and booing. Then the boys started running the ball from their in goal. And there was a few turnovers, and we ended up just scoring really easy tries. But he said to us, but after the game, if you win this game, do whatever you want. Just get on the plane the next day. So I don't care what you do. Just no one get arrested. You get on the plane, and when we get home to Queensland, you got 3 days off. So we were just... So, man, honestly, then after that game, we got to have the best night out in Cape Town. Boys turned up, and we flew back to Australia, and we landed Monday. We had Tuesday, Wednesday off, and all we did was train Thursday, captain's run Friday, and then we played the Bulls on the Saturday, which was, again, one of the best games of my memory of my career when we played against the Bulls that year. But that was one of the funny stories about coming to Cape Town, because we were so excited for the waterfront, and he just took that straight away.
And they went to Caprice, partner.
Caprice, that's the place to be.
Oh, man, bro, I'm telling you, Caprice, when I went there I think it was 2007, it was my first trip to Cape Town with the Queensland Reds. And we got off the plane, and all the older guys just took us straight to Caprice. And I was like, I'd never seen so many beautiful women in my life. And I said, if I can go play anywhere in the world, I want to come to Cape Town.
There we go. And talking about Super Rugby, okay, Israel Dag has also had this rant a couple of weeks ago about Super Rugby. Have you missed it? You've obviously played, I think you've played Super 12, but Super 14, you started very young. How was your experience, and how do you miss it?
Started with Eddie.
Yeah. How was your experience? You still miss it?
Bro, I do, man. I think it was pretty special. The competition that we had, if you think about it, there's a lot of kids now who just never got to experience that. Like, you get to play games. 1 week you're in New Zealand playing against the toughest team. Then you fly to South Africa. Yeah. You get to experience a different culture. You get to bond with your teammates. You get to play against the toughest teams in some of the best stadiums in the world. But for me, it was like the thing that I really loved about South Africa, by touring South Africa, for us, it was just so different, because we got to go out. We would see... you can go out and do safaris, things like this, things that we would never get to do in Australia. But there was also the people in South Africa, the way that they love the game is just so different to anywhere else. And which is why I think that Cape Town holds a special place in my heart, is because I grew up in New Zealand. And so what we used to do was just play rugby in the backyard, and it was like everyone was super passionate. That's why I used to always go down and play touch at some of the rugby clubs. Because to me, it just felt like these were my people, like we're around them. Everybody's just there running around, having fun, enjoying each other's company. And I always had a good time in South Africa. So I really miss the competition. I miss viewing it. But obviously, something that like it's been a great decision for South Africa also, though, to be able to play over in Europe because they've, got a different experience out of there. I'm sure it's easier in the sense of travel.
Yeah,
I think it is a bit easier, Quade, but I think South Africans also still miss it. I mean, I think kids are still stepping the way you step in the streets of South Africa. I mean, South Africa's, we will not, obviously, we love the way Super Rugby was played, the attractiveness of Super Rugby, the competitiveness of Super Rugby. So I think there's still a part of South Africa that miss it. Obviously, moving to Europe, we've had a bit of success. It's worked really well for the Springboks that we can select different parts of the world. But Quade, I actually want to talk while we're on the Super Rugby part. Yeah. When Quade Cooper was young, 19-year-old with a mohawk, what was life like for you at that time? You looked fearless. You looked like someone whose mind was clear. What was rugby like at that time, 19, maybe till 21 years old, where you stepped everyone in front of you?
Man, like I think that the game for me was just, it was just a really pure form of like my own expression, right? So it was like the reason why I had no fear was because I didn't know. Like, so the thing is like you only know what you know, right? So like I didn't really understand the full scope of, the pressure or like people's criticism or things like that. So it was like I just went out there and played free of how I saw the game in its purest form. So then what happens is you start to take in outside noise, whether it's from fans telling you to play a certain way, whether it's from commentators telling you your weaknesses, So I remember every game I played, there was so much scrutiny on my defense, and it was like, so then it would get in my head, okay, so I need to, because these commentators just keep smashing me and hammering me. I was only a young kid and they're hammering me with how bad my defense was, So it was like, so now I'm thinking, okay, so you forget about the things that make you great and make you who you are, and all you're trying to do is please them. Yeah. So it was like through that period of when I was from like 2007 to 2011, I just had like, and even in 2011, I was starting to like hear the chatter from commentators, and a lot of the commentators here in Australia are very negative. Like there's a lot of old ex-rugby players who played in such a different era that they don't understand the game of how it's happening now. It's like all they want to do, because they can't commentate the game, they decide to really attack players. And I was one of those guys who got attacked a lot. And so I think that for me, my life off the field was just, I was just enjoying, I was living out my dream. I got to travel to South Africa. I got to travel to New Zealand. I went over to Europe, and we're playing in front of huge crowds, doing the thing that all you dreamed of when you were a kid was achieving that. So for me, there was absolutely no reason in the world but to be happy and enjoy what I was doing. And then I happened to have a different style of play, but different is not always accepted, And I think that was one of the things that I struggled with. I wanted to be a player that was what the crowd, the commentators, and the society of rugby wanted me to be, So I really struggled with that for a few years.
Yeah. Was that just part, like when you say struggle with it, was it constantly looking at your clips, constantly figuring out how to improve yourself? How did you manage to deal with that struggle, Quade, in trying to be this so-called perfect flyer that people want you to be?
Yeah, well, I used to look at other players, not necessarily, I wouldn't look at myself so much. What I would do is go, okay, now this guy, they're saying that this guy is really good, and I'd be like, I don't think he's that good. Like, I'm be trying to watch this guy's game, and then it'll be like he might make 2 tackles a game, and then I missed 2 tackles. So then they're saying that this guy's. So I'll be like, okay, so all he's doing better. And so, okay, so then I've got to try and change my game to, or this guy's kicking was a little bit better, or you know what I mean. So it was like I'd start to try and change the things that I knew were my strengths to try and fit into this mold of what I thought that they wanted from me. You know what I mean? So it was like, it was a real difficult sort of part of my career until I got to the point when Ewan McKenzie took over as our coach. there was Ewan McKenzie and a guy by the name of Jim Mackay. And so Jim Mackay really settled me into the fact of just understanding my strengths.
Yeah.
And also knowing that, so a lot of people around the world would look at me as like a guy who was just full of flair. But actually my biggest strength was understanding the game and communication. So it's like, those are the things that people don't actually see, you know? So it's like my biggest strength from speaking to those coaches and even from myself was my communication and understanding of the game, not so much my skill set or the step and those sort of things.
Yeah, and structure-wise as well, are you a guy that kind of like to be boxed in a little bit, or is it more that like razzle-dazzle type of feel, off the cuff? And what type of coaches actually helped you a bit with that?
This is a really good question, bro, because again, as you said, like a lot of people would just think that everything I did was off the cuff.
Yeah.
But it was like a lot of that stuff I would visualize and visualize and visualize, whether even if it was just a flick pass. Like I would, like sometimes even when I was just sitting, you know, in our team room, just going over clips, and then I would see myself getting tackled in a way, and I would think of something that may not even be possible, but I'd go, okay, this guy's if I had a spun around, I can get my arm free, and I know I can flick this ball to this guy. And so those sort of things, I would think about those things, but they might not necessarily ever happen. But it's like if I was put in that position, it felt that like I had seen it before. And then when we talk about structure, what I loved about structure was I would know where everybody was going to be. And then that allowed me to manipulate my own teammates, but also manipulate the opposition. So if I knew that we were running a certain shape and our structure was going to be a certain way, I really enjoyed that, because what that allowed me to do, as we sort of alluded to, is I know that there's going to be 3 guys running down here. Now I can tell one of them, like as we're coming around the corner, hey, stay, drop back, you know? And like, so he's expecting to be there, and then I can play something else. Or I knew where guys would be, so if a hole opened up there, I could either pass it there, kick it there, throw it, do whatever. So it allowed me to play with a lot of freedom, and that's where, to me, off the cuff was able to come into play.
Yeah. And I saw that there was one clip against the Reds where you got mic'd up. He's got vision. He knows what's happening 3 phases ahead. Eh? We saw that try.
Yeah. See, even that, bro, like the really cool thing about that clip was that, so we had Carmichael Hunt, who is a really intelligent player. He was a super intelligent, like, human being and one of the best guys, best teammates that I ever played with. But he was new to the game of rugby. But it's like if you told him one thing, he understood it really well. So there's a clip where I say to him, okay, bro, I'm going to look up. Here's the play. We need to get down that end of the field because we've only got like, I think it was like 3 minutes left and we needed to score. We were down on the scoreboard.
Yeah.
I said to him, the way they're set up, I'm going to throw you the ball on a little overs pass. Now, what I want you to do is if their winger comes up and you can feel him on your outside, I just need you to tip the ball to the fullback. Then we'll have a 2-on-1 and he can either kick it or we can run. If that winger holds back, so you're going to have a little bit of time, what I want you to do is now all you got to do is make a read, like show the pass. So that means that the fullback's going to come up and try and close. As soon as you show that pass, I want you to put, if he moves up, I want you to put it behind him. And so that's all I said to him. Then in that space, he was able to get the ball and make all of those decisions himself. As I said, he's a super smart player. He ends up getting the ball, the winger holds off, he shapes the pass, then the fullback starts to motion forward. And he puts in a beautiful kick into the corner. And now we've got them stuck in the corner. There was a line out after that. And then in that space, we knew we didn't have the ball, but we knew that we could put pressure on their line out and they got to come out of the toughest part of the field, like 5 meters out from the line, stuck in the corner. So they end up turning the ball over. They try and maul it. They turn the ball over and we get a scrum. So then the same thing, when that scrum happened, I say, okay, look, here's the play we're going to run. I know this guy is going to jump. He's going to jump out on me. I need you to, Isaiah Parise, I say, I need you to run this inside ball. I said, I'm not going to look. I'm just going to throw it there, but I need you to punch the hole and make sure it's not a 4 pass. That's the only thing that's going to stop us. And so we run this play. He punches through this hole. He nearly scores and they give away a penalty and we just kick the ball over super easy. But I think that to me, that clip summarized what I believe that my strengths were in the game, is being able to, as you said, like understand the game, understand that for every action there's a reaction. So we can set up a certain way and see how they react, but when they react a certain way, you've got to think that they're trying to trick you as well.
100%.
So then you got to be able to think like kind of like two-faced. So if I do this, the likelihood they're going to do this, but actually they're probably going to change here. So let's go through this. So if everybody can understand at that level, it's a really fun game, rugby.
It's powerful,
I love it.
Powerful. And you need to understand defense to be on attack.
And partner, just listening to how Quade sees the game and everything, obviously being this hybrid, this new generation fly-off, I'm thinking to myself, him with his partner Will Guinea, how did Will adapt to the way you did things, and how did that partnership work?
Salt and pepper.
Salt and pepper, because I'm trying to think, obviously, you saw the game a certain way, but you still had to have a halfback that had to understand the way Quade Cooper sees the game. How did you guys find the blend to be so successful as a 9-10 combination?
Now, I really think that earlier on in our career, the biggest thing was that defenses weren't as set as what they are now. So the way that me and him used to work was like, if there was quick ball, I would just sit on the advantage line. So if there was fast ball, so we played like a momentum football style. So if you think about nowadays, everybody plays like a
soft and deep,
a form of structure that it'll be like either a 1-3-3-1, 1-3-2-1-1. Like there's different sort of spreads across the field. Back then, we played this motion football where it was like, if the speed of the ruck was super fast, I would just sit on the advantage line. So I'd always pretty much just get a forward pass and I'd play on top of teams. Now, if the ball and the ruck slowed down, our forwards would slide in, and what we would do is Will would just get out and start playing those forwards. And then we were able to play. So then Will's job was he would look at the short side, and I'd try and play on the advantage line. So if it slowed right down, he would play the forwards. And then if we got a bit of momentum, I'd just say to him, short side, and he'd just pick the ball up. And what made Will so much different to other halfbacks was if I just said short side, he'd just pick that ball up, and he was so athletic. He'd get out to the short side, but then he could make really good decisions right in that moment. You know what I mean? And so for me, as we got older and like say more recently where structure came into play, I really wanted to understand structure because we came through with this motion type of football, as I sort of was just explaining there. And so I started like watching a lot of rugby and teams that played with a lot of structure. So South Africa, a lot of the New Zealand teams and a lot of the European teams. And I really wanted to try and understand how the structure worked, not just from the standpoint of you see this system across. I wanted to see triggers and why they would go certain ways. And when I started to understand that, it wasn't until when I came back into the Wallabies in 2021, where I had Dave Rennie and Dan McKellar. And these two coaches, to me, are two of the smartest coaches I've ever had. And I really, really loved my time with them because I got to understand the line out really well with Dan McKellar. I just didn't ask him a lot of questions about the line out, how it worked, why certain things had happened, why we were playing certain plays and how they would open up and unlock opposition defenses. Then you look at Dave, the way he played. We used to look at counterattack as set piece. And so to me, so whenever they kicked us the ball, we had like 5 different calls for counterattack where it was we were running set piece moves. And when I started to understand it at that level, I was like, yo, this game, there's still so much that I can learn in this game, even at the ripe old age of 34.
And also looking back about structures and learning the game, what have you seen about the Wallabies, the current Wallabies squad, especially when it comes to those 2 games against Wales and also Georgia as well, with Joe Schmidt coming in? What type of plays have they changed a lot of bit since you've played in a couple of years ago?
Well, I think the hardest thing was that last year, so what Eddie wanted to implement was like zero structure, right? So he wanted, like you weren't allowed to have any detail, which you think about rugby now, I get the concept of what he was trying to do because like I think what he was trying to do is just get people to just play more what's in front. But But nowadays, it's like it's nearly impossible to do that. You need an element of structure because you need to know where people are going to be. So if you look back at our games last year, during Rugby Championship, we got turned over the most at the Rucks out of any team in the Rugby Championship. And that was just because we were all second guessing. Like no one knew if they were supposed to be at a Ruck. So you had guys like hesitating and not going to Ruck. So what I've noticed with the guys now from this year is obviously they've implemented the structure back into it. And I think that the upside is that a lot of the boys also have the ability to play how we were playing last year with a little bit more freedom in the sense of if there's zero structure at all, you're going to start throwing the balls. You're seeing a lot more offloads from the boys. You're seeing a lot more of the boys trying to keep the ball alive, but with the balance of having that structure. So I think that you're seeing a guy like Tom Wright. You're seeing how much he's flourishing at the moment because – yes, there's structure, but that's allowing open space and time with the ball out in the wide edges. You know, you're getting a guy like Dangunu being able to flourish in those first few games because he has the ability to just roam around the field and he's super athletic. But there's structure all throughout the field, which is allowing him to be able to leave his wing, know when a ruck's going to be set up and where he can inject himself. And I think that one of the other things that they're doing at the moment is they're really implementing a really good kicking game. And they have a guy by the name of Owen Toolan. He's on as an assistant. I worked with him at the Rebels, and he's a super smart guy. And we did a lot of work on running to kick, so manipulating backfields and looking for the right. So being able to go, okay, I'm going to do something here. And I know that in 2 phases, they're going to end up with this pitch, and we're going to be able to get a kick away, whether it's off the 12 or the 13. And for me, the big thing about rugby now is that you need to have all your back line kicking the ball. You can't just have your kicks coming off 9 and 10.
Attacking kicks and all,
so you need your wingers being able to know their cues. When the ball gets to an edge, that they can put these kicks in behind. Your fullback's got to be probably your 9 and 10 are going to be have the most kicks. Your 12 and 15 should have the second amount of kicks, and your 13 should at least have 2 or 3 kicks throughout the game. So for me, spreading those kicks out throughout the back line is something that they're doing really well this year.
And Quade, looking at Joe Smith, obviously we as South Africans actually looking at this upcoming weekend, we don't know a lot about the young boys. What can we expect from Joe Smith? Does he have something up his sleeve that he's going to trick the box with? Or what type of coach is Joe Smith going to throw at the box this weekend?
Man, honestly, boys, I'm in the same boat as you.
Okay.
I've never spoken to him. I have no idea, you know. So, I'm just as excited as you guys to see what Joe Smith and the boys can bring out on this weekend against the Springboks, because we know that we can't just turn up there and try and match them, physically. We've got to match them physically, but we've got to play our own style and have a few things up our sleeve to be able to get on top of them, because it's going to be a very difficult game, and it's going to be the hardest game that a lot of these guys have ever played. So I'm super excited to see what happens, and I'm in the same boat as you.
And also looking at South Africa as well. You've watched a couple of games. We played Ireland twice in Portugal as well. We've tweaked a little bit of things when it comes to our attack. So you got Tony Brown coming in, and we played four runners now of 9 and 4 runners of 10. So you got a lot of different things when it comes to the box attack, adding to what we already have with physicality. What have you seen? What's your thoughts on what the box pathway is going now?
Yeah, well, honestly, I think it already started prior to the new coaches, bro. Like, I remember coming out and playing last year when we played at Loftus. So we kicked the ball off after the first try that you guys scored. We kicked the ball off up the middle of the field. And usually when you're playing against South Africa, you know exactly what's going to happen. You kick it and they're very scripted. So it doesn't matter if you guys are behind by 15 points on the scoreboard, you're going to continue to play your game plan. But we kicked the ball up the middle, and there was an obvious overlap on our left-hand side, your guys' right-hand side. And from inside your 22, we know, hey, they're not going to run it. And then straight away, they just pulled the trigger and they go 80 meters and score another try. And it was just like, in that moment, I was like, these Springboks are different. Like, this isn't like the Springbok of old. Like, they're starting to change. They're starting to see things and just pull the trigger when they see it, you know? And then throughout that whole game, I'd never seen a Springbok team run from inside their 22 as much as they did that game. And it was really exciting to see the progression throughout the Rugby Championship into the World Cup, because the way that you guys started to attack, and you had the physicality, but there was just never this, like, so you'd win the physical battle and there'd be space to go run it, but you'd never take it. So it was like, as a defense, we always felt if we matched up physically, we can give them the space and we can shorten our line and just go at them like pretty hard. But now when you started to add in passing to your game, the way that the backs were attacking is a really scary thing to come up against.
It's crazy. I like it. Quade, we as South Africans, obviously, we are excited that we finally throwing the ball around a little bit.
Balance life.
We have a lack of balance currently in our game, so we definitely excited. But Quade, I want to ask you, enough about the Aussies and the Boks playing this weekend. Quade Cooper's rugby career. If you sit there, 36-year-old Quade, looking back on it, what are you thinking to yourself? What stands out? How happy are you with it? Anything you would have changed now sitting there, looking back on a career so far?
There's always things that you can change, right? But it's like, I look back at my career and there's so many things I'm proud of, because not only should I have never been in this position, you know, like where I came from and, you know, my own journey and background, I should never be in this position. So to have played one game for the Reds or one game for Australia, I look at that and I say, man, that's a blessing in itself. You know, to look back and know that I've played, I think this is my 19th season now. You know, 19th season, I've traveled the world. I've met so many great people. You know, so the experiences that I've had and I've been blessed with just far outweighs anything bad, and you know, anything that I could go back and change is far outweighed by all the positive things in my life, you know. And as I sort of said before, some of the best memories I had aren't necessarily the memories of me on the field. It's like the experiences of going down, you know, playing park touch at the back of Cape Town, you know. I forget the name of the park. What was it called? But I used to go down and love playing touchdown there. It's like an old rugby ground. Oh my gosh!
Hamilton's or
no, we'll get it and we'll put a subtitle in there.
I'm thinking, is it Hamilton's close to the new stadium or not?
Hamilton's was one. Like, I went and played there, but there was one out towards Newlands, like out by the stadium. Villages.
Yeah,
Villages, bro. So I went down to Hamilton's like once or twice, but I went down to Villages a lot. And that to me was just like, those experiences were some of the best times of my career when I look back at them. Like, I've never forgotten those. And that was just the ultimate for me, because it was like, that's the rugby community. And those people that I was playing touch with, those were me. That's who I was when I was a young kid. I was that young kid just with the dream of, like, I remember I met Jonah Lomu once. He came to our school. And just by seeing him, and I remember running up and trying to touch him and stuff, and it was just like, I remember going, okay, I've seen this dude. I can actually be that. Like, he's a real person, you know what I mean? So just that moment and that interaction was so special to me. So for me to have that opportunity to go down there at Villages and run around with the kids, play touch, sidestep. I remember we trained at a school in Durban, the Green Machine. And there's a young kid by the name of Curtis Jonas.
Yes.
And he come up to me, young kid, and he come up to me in front of everyone. He said, let's go. I can step you. And he goes, let's go. And so we had like a one-on-one step battle.
Yes.
And he tried to step me. And I touched him. And then I end up stepping him. And then it was just one of those things, though. It was like, I remember that moment for the rest of my life. But I just remember a kid coming up to me like so brass and he had so much confidence, but it was like he wasn't arrogant. It was just confidence of like one day that like I'm gonna be where you're gonna be, where you are. You know, and to me that those are the special moments in the game that I'll never ever forget.
Yeah, and a background for you, coming from born in New Zealand, then you went to Australia. Why rugby union? You've got rugby league, you've got AFL, all these type of things. Even NFL, I've seen a couple of these clips, these backflip passes of him. Okay, why rugby union?
Man, rugby union was just like, I remember growing up as a young kid, and so I would have been like 3 or 4 years of age, and I remember I used to get into when I played my first season of rugby. So the All Blacks were always on the TV. You saw them. They're on you buy a box of Weet-Bix, which is a cereal here. Yeah. Their faces are all over it. So they're everywhere. So it was like ingrained in my head was like, that's what I want to be. And then, so for me, when I would get changed into my rugby uniform as a 4-year-old, and I'll get changed on a Monday every morning, my mum would say, no, son, like it's only a Monday. Rugby's on Saturday. And okay, so the next day I do the same thing. Is it Saturday now? Is it Saturday now? And she said, no, son, it's not. Finally, a Saturday, I'll get down there. And when I would be on that field and have a ball in my hand and I was running, I can't really explain the joy that I used to get, right? So like that's where it all sort of kick-started. Then fast forward to when I had the opportunity to choose between rugby, league, and I used to play rugby on Saturdays, league on Sundays. And then I would play basketball throughout the week, touch on Thursdays. And so I had every day I had some type of sport. But when I had the opportunity to choose, the thing that really stood out to me was that with rugby league, it's a very simple game. So it's very structured and everything you sort of knew what you were going to do. Whereas with rugby, like every single possession, you didn't know. Like every single possession, it was you can lose the ball at any stage, you know. So the game was always live. So you always had to be trying to think. You're trying to count. So you see, you pass the ball to someone, you lose 2 into a ruck, but they only lose 1. So they've got an extra man to you, but they've also got a fullback back. Then their wingers offset. So then you're going, okay. So you're trying to create all these overlaps in real time every single time. So there was no just sitting back and going with rugby league. You can sit back and go, okay, we're going to play these 3 tackles and this guy's going to get to this guy. Then on the 4th tackle, we're going to have 4-on-4 with 20 meters and we're going to run a play. With rugby, you never got that. Like you're trying your best to get to that and you're trying to get to those matchups of having like 3-on-3. And if you've got a 3-on-3 down to 15, that's as good as a line break, you know, because that's your best opportunity, 1-on-1. But you're always trying to work into these situations. Then there's a turnover and the ball's gone and it's thrown 2 passes. Then someone's kicked it all the way down the field and you've been attacking in someone 22. And now you're back in your own 22 with a line out. Now that line out, again, you can lose the ball. So you have your play called, but there's just so many, like there's just so much thinking that goes into it. And that's why I sort of decided to choose rugby, because I just felt that it was a lot more stimulating for me. It was a lot more challenging in the sense of my skill set suited rugby league more.
Okay.
But I felt like my skill set, my mind was more suited to rugby, and I really wanted to challenge myself in that aspect. Yeah.
And Quade, you just said 19 years of pro rugby so far. I'm thinking to myself, who has Quade Cooper met that, and he went to himself like, yes, did I just meet that person? Is there anyone in your career so far that you've either been in a room with and you're like, wow, this is insane that I've just spent time with this person or met this person? Anyone that pops up to mind that was a crazy moment in
Sunnyville?
Bro, there's lots of moments, bro. Like Sonny's a good example, right? Because Sonny's not a whole lot older than me, but me and him, we've had similar like paths throughout our careers. Like we got up to a little bit of mischief as we were younger.
As you should.
You know, but we kind of went through the same things, but he was a guy that I really looked up to. And so now when I being like really good friends with him, he's like one of my older brother, and being like, when we just hang out all the time, I sometimes like, you know, this is my big bro, like SB. But the moments that for me, it was like, I remember I was warming up for a game. It was the first time I ever saw Carlos Spencer. And so Carlos Spencer to me was like, I had a poster of him on my wall, you know. So the first time I got to meet him, we were playing Gloucester. I was playing for Australia, and it was a midweek test over in England against Gloucester. I think it was in 2009. And so I knew he was playing number 10. I was playing number 10 for Australia. And so when we go out to warm up, I'm the first one out of the sheds. But I just want to go and watch him. And I'm standing at my end of the field just watching him warm up. And he was warming up. And I remember him doing warm-ups like he was doing backwards heel, like drop kicks and kicking the ball over the post. And I'm just watching him. I'm like, yo, fuck, that's Carlos Spencer. Like I'm thinking, that's actually Carlos Spencer. And I wanted to just go up and say hello. But I'm like, no, you got to be professional, be professional. And then, so in that game, I made so they kicked the ball and I caught it back at fullback and I run and I step past the guy and I make a run and I've just got Carlos Spencer to beat. And I remember running and I jump up in the air and I just like do a little goose step and I sort of skip past him and then I run in and score a try. So for me, it was just this moment of like, as I was running, it seemed like a slow motion movie. I'm running, I see him, I jump in the air, I'm looking at him and I'm thinking, that's Carlos Spencer. Like and then I run and score this try, you know. So then being able to go into the sheds, you know, talk to him, get a photo, swap jerseys, you know, like that was a really special moment to me. And then like there's been so many moments like that, you know. It was similar when, you know, like meeting Habsy. And then, you know, when I played in Super Rugby, that was the good thing about it, was like each week you come up against a different star. You know, like it was like 1 week you're playing Brian Abana, next week you're playing Dan Carter, you know, you're playing Sonny Bill. Like there was just always moments that you'd be like, okay, you're mixing shoulders with the best players in the world.
Yeah.
And I think that was a special thing. But as I said, so that moment with Carlos Spencer and the other one's obviously Jonah Lomu.
Yes,
was
special.
When I think I was like 11 at intermediate in New Zealand and the Chiefs came to our school. So when he came into our school, bus pulled up, they had a little training session and then the boys were getting back on the bus. And can you remember the rugby game on PlayStation, Jonah Lomu Rugby?
Yeah.
So
that's
now the thing is, in every video store back in those days, there was this big cardboard cutout of Jonah Lomu. And like he was just a giant. And so like my thing was like, I just wanted to see if he was really that big.
Yeah.
And I remember, because you look at him on the game, everyone else was this big and then Jonah Lomu was like this big. Yeah. So then I remember going and seeing him and thinking, yep, he's that big. Like he's a giant. Like I'd never seen someone the size of him, but that was a really cool moment.
Yeah, Quade, just quickly before we say goodbye, I've got one question. Any advice for youngsters? Because the reason I'm asking this actually, because you spoke about now Carlos Spencer, you're looking up to him, and he's changed the game. You've, in my opinion, have really changed the game in terms of how fly-offs play these days, especially when it comes to South Africa. You as an 18-year-old start stepping, doing this crazy little razzle-dazzle type of things. In South Africa, for the past couple of years, we let the likes of Morne Steyn, Morne Steyn and Andre Pollards. It's a very tactical type of flyers, but these flyers coming through now like Mani Labok, Shashan Gomazulu, all these guys, 100% you've inspired them. Any advice for these boys, you know, taking their career on and starting so early?
I think that the only advice I can say is that, as I said, is just like, firstly, believe in yourself and who you are, and don't allow other people to try and change your strengths. Like, add to your game. Always look for ways to add to your game. But as I said, so for me, a way that I added to my game was being able to speak to guys like Dan McCullough, learn about the line-out and really understand. Like, he's one of the best line-out coaches in the world. So when I sat down with him and was able to chat to him about some line-out stuff, to me, that elevated my game a little bit. It just added knowledge. And it's so for me, it's always keeping an open mind, but firstly, believe in yourself and what you're doing, what's got you there. So the guys like Mani, like I really love the way he plays the game. And that, you know, when I was alluding to that change when we played at Loftus, that was all off the back of him. You know, the skill that he showed. And I know that he copped some criticism throughout the World Cup, you know, but it was like, man, he's the type of guy who's been able to take South Africa and push them to a whole new level, you know. So I'm super excited about the future for South African rugby, for these guys, Sasha, Mani, you know, Damien as well. You know, these guys are really special talents, bro. And I just hope that they understand that. They find ways to continue to elevate their game, continue to grow and understand the game in different ways. So if you have that as your skill set, okay, learn about other ways too, but always remember that that's your strength.
Yeah.
That's what makes you different, and being different is great.
Yes, Quade, thank you so much, man. I wish we had 3 more hours to catch up with you.
We want him in the studio.
Yeah.
We must come in the studio, yes.
Quade, this is a random fact. There's a game happening the 7th of September, All Blacks versus South Africa. If you have nothing to do, the game is in Cape Town. I'll happily take you for a beer at Caprice, meneer. If you can get your tickets, I think Cape Town will be happy to have you here. And thank you for your time. I know you just got back from the hospital. Honestly, we appreciate it.
Same from my side as well. Thank you very much for making the time. Obviously, you've started at a very young age. You know, me and you, 88 babies, you know. And I mean, you actually inspired me. You started so early. I was looking at these clips and I'm looking at this guy's the same age as me. But you inspired all the generations so far. Thanks very much for what you've done for rugby and for what you're still going to do. And hopefully you'll reach 42. Age 42.
Boys are playing till 40 now.
Not far away, but I always enjoyed playing against you guys. It was always tough, man. Like, so it was always a battle. It was always fun. And I miss it. And keep doing your thing, man. You guys are doing great. Keep paving the way for other athletes to get into this space. You know, I think, as I said, what you guys are doing is really good, not just for yourselves, but for the next generation who's going to come through and see this and want to be able to dabble in this type of thing. But thanks for everything. Great chatting to you boys, and hopefully catch up soon. But you can't take me to Caprice, otherwise I'll probably move to Cape Town.
Cheers for now, guys. That's Quade Cooper. Let's go. QC. What a legend. What a legend. What a legend. Hey, partner. Unbelievable. Hey, what a story. 19 years. Come on.
Partner, you know what I like about life is, right? When you get a superstar and an incredible person in the world, and his personality and his human beingness matches that.
Oh.
Yeah, what a human. What a man.
Very chill, they.
Yeah.
And he loves Cape Town.
Oof.
And Cape Town loves him. Quade, Cape Town, more than welcome. Okay?
Asseblief.
Yes, more than welcome.
Asseblief.
Asseblief.
Kom Kaap toe.
In Corsie. Okay. Yeah, incredible story.
Excellent chat with Quade. Caught up with him. Now we know where they are at in Australia.
Yes.
But partner, it's Bokketyd.
Is it Bokketyd?
Yes.
Okay, let's get...
a Springbok time. And there's some incredible games. Hit me with some fixtures.
You want some fixtures? The fixtures very simple. Okay, first game up, Australia versus South Africa. Massive. 6:05 on Saturday morning, AM Ruckers.
Oh, hold on, partner. Ruckers, I just want to make sure.
6
o'clock in the morning.
6:05 AM. Okay, Ruckers, coffee, Oma Biskytjie, and there you go. Okay,
Ruckers, I might miss this one. I'm joking.
Hey, you're not going to miss this one. And straight after at 9 o'clock, 9:05, it's the All Blacks versus Argentina. Massive game. Okay, let's go to the first one. Okay, all eyes will be on its first one. Suncorp Stadium. We're expecting a sellout crowd. Okay,
that's fantastic.
In the history, 11 years. Okay, we got history to change. Okay, and the team is out. Interesting. Let's go to the first 5-8. They call it the first 5-8. Number 10. Talk to me. You know, Zulu.
Sasha, obviously, look, his form is insane, incredible form. I actually feel I'm feeling for Mani. I'm going to be totally honest with you, with your partner. I know Mani's got a lot of criticism for his kicking to poles, and everybody's got something to say about it. But sometimes I feel like people get lost in Mani's ability to move the ball, ability to create tries. So I'm feeling a little bit of hurt for Mani not being in the mix. But nothing against Sasha. Sasha deserves an opportunity.
Incredible form at the moment, And what's interesting for me is, what is Rassie thinking? That coaching thing. Now you got Sasha at 10. I understand it's 2 o'clock in the afternoon in Suncorp Stadium. Okay, it's running rugby. But now you've got Andre on the bench that can only cover 10. Maybe
10 and 12.
12 if needed. So that's a bit interesting for me, what he's thinking about it. And while we're talking about coaching and thinking and what is team selection, that is episode 55. Go back, go check it out. We had our own press conference. Dr. Page and Dr. De Jong. Okay, Rakkers?
Like I said.
One job, okay? One job. Yeah, so, I mean, we were pretty spot on a couple of things. I made a couple of changes. I would like to see Lukania and Mampimpi in there.
Okay.
Because of the history of Korobetti. I thought he's going to maybe play Korobetti and Pimpi, you know, in the corner. Twice. He got one, you know. So that would have been nice to see. And then we got Elrich Low. We were spot on at Elrich Low that Kwagga moves to the bench because that's his comfortable position. But it's a formidable outfit.
It was a fantastic side. And look, and when I said I'm feeling for Mani, I put myself in a player situation. You know, when as a player and you won't say, I want to say get undone by, but you ask yourself, what have I done wrong? I've played brilliant rugby. I had a fantastic URC campaign. But the Sasa thing makes a lot of sense. Brasi probably wants to test him, see what he looks like starting a test match. Throw in the deep sea. It's an away game. You could probably risk a little bit more playing away from home with having a set core of experienced players around him. The Cheslin Colbys, the Damon the Ellanders, Jesse Creel, etc. Curtis, Willie on fullback. So around him, he's got a lot of experience, especially with Kobus at 9. So I would have, obviously last week I said they're going to go the other way. They're going to play Grant, who's a little bit inexperienced at starting test matches with Andre. So that one I would have loved to see.
Yeah, that one is also interesting. But on the Mane thing, and then Quade just put it straight away onto the spot when he talks about, you know, what Mane must focus on. He must park this couple of things. So that's actually very good advice from Quade.
Fantastic advice. He's been through it.
He's been
Quade
through it.
Has gone through it.
So that's massive. And with the Grant Kobus thing as well, also interesting.
Very interesting.
Portugal, he went with Kobus first and then Granty coming off the bench. But usually Grant sits on the bench for Faf. So where does that leave us a little bit? So that's the questions that we do have when it comes to that 9 jumper.
I think from 9 and 10, you can't start Grant in Sasa. I think that realistically as a coach, you know...
It's the same type of thinking.
Yes. So you obviously went with an experienced 9 and an inexperienced fly-off. And if you go the other way around, you probably want to go Grant and give him even experienced fly-off that's been in the settle, that like a Polly. Or Mani, who's played international rugby. But I'm happy for Elrich Low. I think he deserves it thoroughly. Episode 33. Go check it out.
Hey, 33. Go check it out. Okay, don't miss it. Okay.
So I'm happy for him. Deserves
we called it.
Strong ball carrier. I think he's probably licking his lips for this opportunity to start a test match.
And especially with Sia and Pieter Steef de Toy. So that's senior players, that's 6 and 7. So you can learn a lot from them. And then you got Marco that can come off second half, you know, that bomb squad, Eskom. And Ben Jason Dixon.
Okay. Workhorse. Toyota Hilux. BJ.
Pieter Steef de Toy, copy and paste. Okay.
So, but happy with the team?
Happy with the team, yeah. And it's good to see we're settling, especially 1, 2, and 3, 4, and 5. Ergie, nice to see him getting a start a couple of games as well. Getting that offloads
early in the game.
Fiji and Anna, you know, those type of things. But yeah, I'm pretty happy with the team so far. Good to see how the boys' first game. There's a couple of law changes as well. The red cards now 20 minutes.
How do you feel about the red card thing only being 20 minutes?
I like it.
I also like it.
It makes it competitive.
I love it.
Because once you get the red card early on, it's like game is done.
Yes.
And
people pay a lot of money to go to the stadiums to enjoy a competitive rugby game.
Yes.
So I'm a big fan of the 20-minute red cards. Yes. I said it.
Talk about big fan. You're probably a big fan of the 9 getting protected a little bit. You like protection? A seatbelt.
Look, I don't think 9s need any more protection. You can't at the moment. You can't touch a 9 anymore.
Yeah.
But I think they're all obviously doing all of these law changes to give rugby a more attractive look.
Yes, and speed the game up for the fans.
Yeah, so it's all about fan enhancement, fan engagement, making our game even more attractable for new viewers.
Yes.
So I don't mind the law changes. Let's see what they look like when they're in effect.
Yeah.
And hopefully it can be a great addition to our beautiful game and just take our game forward.
Exciting times. 6:05, we up. Okay, I'll phone you, I'll WhatsApp you, I'll phone you.
I won't have to set 3 alarm partners Saturday morning to watch the Bokke, but I am so excited. I'm quite nervous about
nervous too.
Quade spoke about the Suncorp effect. How confident they are. How confident they are as Australians at Suncorp.
New coach. New structures.
New team, actually. I don't know a lot of those boys.
Yeah. So, only time will tell.
Do you think they can upset us quickly, partner?
I don't think so. It's like a catch-22. They've won 3 out of 3. We've got 2 out of 3. Okay, so we are the favorites when it comes to it, but also saying because we haven't beaten them for 11 years at Suncorp Stadium, that also makes it a bit of 50-50. Only time will tell.
And one more question. One more question. You think we're going to play attacking rugby with Sasha at 10?
100%. Okay. Even with especially with him at 10, 2 o'clock in the afternoon, it's going to be a running rugby. Gooi rond, throw the ball around, razzle-dazzle type of stuff. Carlos Spencer goedjies, Quade Cooper goedjies, and all those type of things. Exciting times. And quickly, All Blacks, Argentina, feel about the All Blacks, they're looking good. Barrett is obviously injured, so he's not going to start.
He's captain.
Yeah, he's got a finger injury. With James, Love, Ruben Love coming in, and a couple of new guys coming in. Will Jordan will be back as well.
Jordan is back. Yeah. I know Bodie played really well at fullback for them. I can actually see them going Bowden at fullback with Mackenzie at 10. But I think still early days for All Black rugby. Yeah. The new era, Razor coming in. But they're building. And that's dangerous, partner. It's dangerous 100%. When people are figuring out who they are and what they are about as an identity.
Yes.
So I'm keeping my eye closely on those All Blacks. We're not going to forget about them.
Yep.
But the dangerous side, I know they're trying to get Richie Mo'unga back. And I'm hopefully the Argentina players can be a bit more competitive than what they were against France in the inbound, the June-July international season. So hopefully the Argies can start better. They've had more time together as a country. So, yeah, the Argies are a bit of an unknown factor coming into this with Contepomi. Filippo Contepomi. So, let's see what the Argies get up to. And then, obviously, can see if the All Blacks can kick on from that England inbound series.
Yes, 100%. And that's it. Can't wait for the weekend to start. Can't wait for the weekend
partner,
to start.
Before we say goodbye, Ruckers, Behind the Ruck, your number, not just ours, your number 1 rugby podcast is proudly supported by SuperSportBET. And the two of these guys with the mics in their hands are officially dressed by Old School, our official apparel sponsor. And guys, make sure if you haven't caught up with all the episodes, if you got time at home and you bored and you don't know what to do, go scroll through our YouTube channel, find your favorite player, watch that episode, and leave your comment at the bottom part. Wow,
that just rolls off the tongue.
I sounded like a salesperson at Volkswagen.
Agree with that. So guys, please like, share, and subscribe. We say it every time, but pause the video and subscribe, please.
Yes,
okay,
please.
Guys, don't just watch it, man. Subscribe, please. Okay? Ik vraag met tranen in mijn ogen. Okay. And that's it, eh? Exciting times. Let the weekend start. Let the weekend begin.
Come on, Bokke.
Okay, let's go. I'm Juan de Jong.
I'm Rudy Pates.
And the Ruck is clear.
Let's go,
ciao.